In May 1979, a document was created entitled Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. It was given out to all the attending members of the Bilderberg meeting in commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the first Bilderberg meeting in 1954. The document was found on July 7, 1986 in an IBM copier that had been purchased at a surplus sale. And there's a lot to go over here, so I'm going to go right into it. Welcome aboard. This publication marks the 25th anniversary of the Third World War, called the Quiet War, being conducted using subjective biological warfare fought with silent weapons. This book contains an introductory description of this war, its strategies, and its weaponry. May 1979, document number 741120. Security. It is patently impossible to discuss social engineering or the automation of a society, i.e. the engineering of social automation systems, silent weapons on a national or worldwide scale without implying extensive objectives of social control and destruction of human life, i.e. slavery and genocide. This manual, in itself, is an analog declaration of intent. Such a writing must be secured from public scrutiny, otherwise it might become recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war. Furthermore, whenever any person or group or persons in position of great power and without full knowledge and consent of the public uses such knowledge and methodology for economic conquest, it must be understood that a state of domestic warfare exists between said person or group of persons and the public. The solution of today's problems requires an approach which is ruthlessly candid, with no agonizing over religious, moral, or cultural values. You have qualified for this project because of your ability to look at human society with cold objectivity, and yet analyze and discuss your observations and conclusions with others of similar intellectual capacity without a loss of discretion or humility. Such virtues are exercised in your own best interest. Do not deviate from them. Historical introduction. Silent weapon technology has evolved from operations research, OR, a strategic and tactical methodology developed under the military management in England during World War II under Eisenhower. The original purpose of operation research was to study the strategic and tactical problems of air and land defense with objective effective use of limited military resources against foreign enemies, i.e. logistics. It was soon recognized by those in positions of power, the Council on Foreign Relations, that some of the same methods might be useful of totally controlling a society, but better tools were necessary. Social engineering, the analysis and automation of a society, requires the correlation of great amounts of constantly changing economic information. So a high-speed computerized data processing system was necessary, which could race ahead of society and predict when society would arrive for capitulation. Relay computers were too slow, but the electronic computer, invented in 1946 by J. Presper Eckert and John W. Mauchly, filled the bill. The next breakthrough was the development of the simplex method of linear programming in 1947 by the mathematician George B. Dantzig. Then in 1948, a transistor invented by J. Bardeen, W. H. Brattain, and W. Shockley promised the great expansion of the computer field by reducing space and power requirements. With these three innovations under their direction, those in positions of power strongly suspected that it was possible for them to control the whole world with the push of a button. Immediately, the Rockefeller Foundation got in on the ground floor by making a 4-year grant to Harvard College, funding the Harvard Economic Research Project for the study of the structure of the American economy. 1 year later, in 1949, the United States Air Force joined in. The Harvard Project had been very fruitful, as it borne out by the publication of some of its results in 1953, suggesting the feasibility of economic social engineering. Studies in the Structure of the American Economy, copyright 1953 by Wassily Leontief, International Sciences Press, White Plains, New York. The Quiet War was declared by the international elite of the Bilderberg Group at the meeting held in 1954. Energy is recognized as the key to all activity on Earth. Natural science is the study of the sources and control of natural energy, and social science, theoretically expressed as economics, is the study of the sources and control of social energy. Both are bookkeeping systems, mathematics. Therefore, mathematics is the primary energy science, and the bookkeeper can be king if the public can be kept ignorant of the methodology of the bookkeeping. All science is merely a means to an end. The means is knowledge. The end is control. The end always justifies the means. Beyond this remains only one issue. Who will be the beneficiary? In 1954, this was the issue of primary concern. Although the so-called moral issues were raised in view of the law of natural selection, it was agreed that a nation or world of people who will not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Such people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. Consequently, in the interest of future world order, peace, and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the American public, with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy, wealth of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, and worthy few. In order to implement this objective, it was necessary to create, secure, and apply new weapons which, as it turned out, were a class of weapons so subtle and sophisticated in their principle of operation and public appearance as to earn for themselves the name silent weapons. In conclusion, the objective of economic research, as conducted by the magnates of capital and the industries of commodities and services, is the establishment of an economy which is totally predictable and manipulable. In order to achieve a total predictable economy, the low-class elements of society must be brought under total control, i.e., they must be housebroken, trained, and assigned a yoke and long-term social duties from a very early age before they have an opportunity to question the propriety of the matter. In order to achieve such conformity, the lower-class family unit must be disintegrated by a process of increasing preoccupation of the parents and the establishment of government-operated daycare centers for the occupationally orphaned children. The quality of education given to the lower class must be of the poorest sort, so that the mote of ignorance isolating the inferior class from the superior class is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class. With such an initial handicap, even bright lower-class individuals have little hope of extricating themselves from their assigned lot in life. This form of slavery is essential to maintaining some measure of social order, peace, and tranquility for the ruling upper class. In recent times, the application of operations research to the study of public economy has been obvious for anyone who understands the principles of shock testing. In the shock testing of an aircraft airframe, the recoil impulse of firing a gun mounted on that airframe causes shock waves in that structure, which tell aviation engineers the conditions under which parts of the airplane or the whole airplane or its wings will start to vibrate or flutter like a guitar string, a flute reed, or a tuning fork, and disintegrate or fall apart in flight. Economic engineers achieve the same result in studying the behavior of the economy and the consumer public by carefully selecting a staple commodity, such as beef, coffee, gasoline, or sugar, and then causing a sudden change or shock in its price or availability, thus kicking everybody's budget and buying habits out of shape. They love doing this. It's like their favorite thing to do. Happens all the time, doesn't it? Gas goes up, all these little manipulations. See? Understand now? Starting to get the picture? Great. Then, they observe the shock waves which result by monitoring the changes in advertising prices and sales of that and other commodities. The objective of such studies is to acquire the know-how to set the public economy into a predictable state of motion or change, even a controlled, self-destructive state of motion, which will convince the public that certain expert people, expert quote-unquote, should take control of the money system and reestablish security, rather than liberty and justice, of course, for all. When the subject citizens are rendered unable to control their financial affairs, they of course become totally enslaved, a source of cheap labor. Not only the price of commodities, but also the availability of labor can be used as the means of shock testing. Labor strikes deliver excellent test shocks to an economy, especially in the critical services area of trucking, transportation, communication, public utilities, energy, water, and garbage collection. By shock testing, it is found that there is a direct relationship between the availability of money flowing in the economy and the psychological outlook and response of masses of people dependent upon that availability. For example, there is a measurable quantitative relationship between the price of gasoline and the probability that a person would experience a headache, feel the need to watch a violent movie, smoke a cigarette, or go to a tavern for a mug of beer. It is most interesting that by observing and measuring the economic modes by which the public tries to run from their problems and escape from reality, and by applying the mathematical theory of operations research, it is possible to program computers to predict the most probable combination of created events, shocks, which will bring about a complete control and subjugation of the public through a subversion of the public economy by shaking the plum tree. So we have all of these things that they focus upon to control us. And it's very simple. They tap our phones, surveillance, analysis of garbage usage, behavior of children in school, standard of living by food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, social contacts, telephone, itemized record of calls. Now they have cell phones. It wasn't cell phones back then. Family, marriage certificates, birth certificates, friends, associates, etc., membership organizations, political affiliations, personal paper trail, buying habits, personal consumer preferences, checking accounts, credit card purchases, tagged credit card purchases, the credit card purchases of products bearing the U.S.C, Universal Product Code, which is everything now, but back then it wasn't. But now it's gotten to the point of the absurd. So they check your credit cards, credit card purchases, your buying habits, checking accounts. Now we all know they do this now with Facebook. It's unbelievable. They show you the products that you want. Isn't it unreal? They're controlling you, ladies and gentlemen. They're controlling you. And it's not a good thing. Experience has proven that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems, principles on one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. This is achieved by 1. Disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities, providing a low-quality program of public education in mathematics, logic, systems design, and economics, and discouraging technical creativity. 2. Engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgences, and their indulgence in emotional and physical activities by A. Unrelenting emotional affrontations and attacks, mental and emotional rape, by way of constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media, especially the TV and the newspapers. B. Giving them what they desire in excess, junk food for thought, and depriving them of what they really need. 3. Rewriting history and law and subjecting the public to deviant creation, thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. These preclude their interest in and discovery of the silent weapons of social automation technology. The general rule is that there is profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer the solutions. Hegelian dialectic. Keep the adult public attention diverted away from the real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. Schools, keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. Entertainment, keep the public entertained below a 6th grade level. Work, keep the public busy, busy, busy with no time to think, back on the farm with the other animals. Thank you for watching Truth Talk News. I'm Howard Nima.